So I've seen a bunch of channels do 3-watch collections, and today I wanted to do another 3-watch collection video. I did one a little while ago. That was a 3-watch collection of Eternas. So I have a couple of micro collections within my collection, and I have 3 Omegas in my collection that have never left my collection since I bought them, and they never will leave my collection. So I want to do a quick video and show you those 3 watches. So I'm going to start with my favorite Omega that I have ever owned, and this is the Mark II Speedmaster. Now, I've owned a Speedmaster, however, I have never owned a Mark II. I had bought and sold my Speedmaster for one reason or another to fund another watch, I'm sure. However, I got this in an estate sale. It was $650. I got it serviced by Omega. That service was around $800 or $900, just below that. They did an excellent job, except for the case back, and we'll get into that in just a few seconds. However, this is an awesome, awesome watch. I really love the style of the Mark II Speedmaster. I love the case, the barrel case. They did an excellent job on the service. So I had the crystal replaced, the hands were replaced, and the crowns were replaced. The crown and the actual pushers were replaced, excuse me. I don't have a original bracelet on here. This is an aftermarket bracelet. I think it's made in Hong Kong, but it looks really good on here and it fits really nicely. It's a very comfortable bracelet. It actually came with the watch, and this watch was, like I said, purchased in an estate sale for $650. It was working. However, it wasn't telling very good time. The chronograph wasn't working, so I had it serviced. First time I've ever actually serviced a watch through the actual brand. I had it done by Omega. They over polished the case back, so I actually replaced the case back with a clear case back. Now this is a 42 millimeter watch. It measures around that. It's around 41.5 millimeters. You get a really good lug to lug on here. I think it's like 45 millimeters or somewhere around there. I can show you very quickly on my calipers. It wears very comfortably. It's one of the most comfortable watches. Yeah, 45.3. It is thick because I do have that clear case back. You can see the caliber 861, and I'll do a picture of that so you guys can see. But it's just a really comfortable, very good-looking 70s watch. The chronograph action on here is excellent, especially because it was serviced. Obviously, they went through, they did an overhaul of the movement. Everything lines up, works beautifully. You have that tachymeter in the actual mineral crystal on here, matte bezel. You have that checkered flag that goes around, lots of orange accents on here. Just an awesome, awesome watch. I think these don't sell for a ton of money on eBay or on the secondary market. They're actually pretty good in price. If you want to pick one up, you can get one for around $2,000 or $3,000, depending on the condition. Now, if you want something in this condition, it's probably closer to the $3,000 mark, but really not bad for what you're getting. And I highly recommend getting the clear case back so you can see that 861 is a Lamagna based movement. Just an awesome movement, really cool color. It's like a copper color. Just love this watch. I love it, and I don't wear it enough. Vintage watch. It's from 1972, I think. Just really cool. Love it. The next watch in this 3-watch collection is another one of my favorite watches. One that I've actually thought about selling many, many times, and it is my Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 600. Why have I thought about selling it many times? Because I want an Omega 300 meter, the Seamaster 300 meter, which is sort of the reissue of the original 300, and it looks really cool. It's smaller than this. This is a 45.5. That's a 41 millimeter. It's more of an everyday watch. This is very large. It's a true tool watch. This, you could take it off and literally punch through a wall with it. It's 45.5 millimeters, and that's basically what it measures throughout the whole entire case. The bezel's a little bit smaller than the actual case itself. You have a very large lug span on here. I think the lug width with the male end links on here is like 47, 46 millimeters, somewhere around there. The actual lug width on here, the actual lug width of the watch is 51.3, which is pretty big. It's not that, it's the thickness. You have a dome sapphire crystal on here, 17.4, depending on where you're actually measuring it. So you're getting a very thick, very heavy watch. This has a clear case back. You get to see the 8500 caliber in here. It's coaxial, really cool watch. just a beast of a watch. You get a clear case back with 600 meters of water resistance. You get a helium escape, which is screwed down. Crown is also screwed down. I think it's like a 7.5 millimeter, 7.4 millimeter case, signed, of course, and it says helium on the actual, or HE on the actual helium escape. Bezel action is excellent on this watch. I think the biggest letdowns on this watch, and something that obviously I've been able to overlook, is one, the lume, and two, the clasp. The legibility is pretty good. As you can see, it has okay AR coating. The AR coating isn't great on this watch, so you do get a good amount of glare even in natural daylight. And then the actual bezel is made out of, I believe it is ceramic. This is definitely ceramic, and it does scratch, which is kind of crazy because it is ceramic. And kind of the benefits of ceramic is that it doesn't scratch. However, this ceramic bezel does. And I've seen a lot of complaints about that on the internet. Applied indices, you have some orange accents on the dial. There's a lot going on the dial, even though it's just a sort of a matte colored black dial. Kind of busy for that. And this is sort of a gray colored bezel, which is kind of cool. The bracelet itself is insanely robust. It's very, very thick, very heavy links, huge screws in here. I mean, just enormous. Probably some of the biggest screws that I've seen in any watch. All of the links are oval shaped, so it doesn't pull your hair. It wears really nice. You get a diver's extension. So the bad part about this watch is if you want to put it on and you have a big hand like I do, you have to actually undo the diver's extension to get it onto your wrist because of the small clasp. It has a very small clasp. The scissor is small, so to get it on I have to undo the diver's extension, and then if you don't put the diver's extension back correctly, the clasp won't close. So kind of, you know, a little bit of a mistake by Omega. You know, it's not that terrible. Later versions get a much better clasp. This is sort of, I think, a Mark II or Mark III version. I like this version a lot better than the first versions of this watch, especially with the movement that this one has, I think is a lot better. You can see even the button here is sort of that oval shape. It sort of echoes what's in the bracelet. They pay attention to details. I mean, this is a really cool watch. I'll throw it on my wrist at the end just to show you guys. And then the last watch that I'm going to show you in this 3-watch collection is a vintage watch. It is a sentimental watch. This is a watch that was actually purchased by my mother when she was on vacation, when she was in her 20s. It was a watch that she gave to my grandfather, who has passed away, and he actually never really wore this watch very much. It was a very special watch to him, so obviously a very special watch to me. It is an Omega de Ville. It is 10 karat gold filled or 14 karat gold filled, I don't remember. You get a stainless steel case back on it because of that. This one is in mint condition. It really hasn't been worn very much. It's sort of a rectangular case with the sort of corners cut off. That's echoed into the crystal. The crystal is obviously a mineral crystal, which has these facets to it. It is raised a lot. It's a very small watch, so it's around 32 millimeters, I want to say. It's 32 millimeters square, so you get 32 millimeters from case side to case side, but then also the lug width is around 32 millimeters as well. So it does wear very small on your wrist, so 32.5 there. You get a very small crown there. It's thick. It could be a lot thinner. It's 9.4 millimeters thick, and that is because of that crystal, because of that mineral crystal, which is raised, predominantly raised. It actually accounts for maybe an extra 2 millimeters on this watch. It would be a 7 millimeter thick watch, and because of that crystal, it is not. Hand wound caliber inside, Omega. I have it on an aftermarket strap. I have the box and papers and everything for it, and the buckle. These don't go for too much. I think these sell for around, depending on the condition, $500 to $2,000. Again, depending on the condition, because these scratch very easily. I don't wear them I don't wear this very often because of that crystal. It's raised. They crack and scratch extremely easily. So you do have to be careful with them. They look 70s. Everything about this watch is very 1970s. So very quickly, I'm going to throw all 3 watches on my wrist so you can see what they look like on my 7.5-inch wrist. And then we will do a quick lume shot for the other 2 watches because they do have lume, even though the Speedmaster probably isn't going to be good because it is a vintage watch. We'll do a lume shot very quickly just to show you guys. So very quickly, before we do that, I'm going to show you the watch that I have on my wrist. So I mentioned I'm going to be doing some 3 collection videos. I have a micro collection of Omega, but I also have a micro collection of a few other watches, a few other brands, And today I have on my Vacheron. This is one of 3 Vacherons that I own, so I'll be doing a video about that. This is a titanium Vacheron. Very, very rare watch, sapphire crystal, sapphire dial, excuse me, sapphire crystal, of course. Just a really interesting watch. See-through case back, you could see the caliber there. That spinning rotor is a actual 22 karat blackened rotor, which is pretty incredible. Vacheron really go all out with their watches, and they don't spare any expense. And I'm going to show you that in that 3-watch collection. They really do an incredible job. But I have to say, Omega makes some amazing, amazing watches. And this is a pretty cool watch. It does not wear well on my 7.5-inch wrist. You can see I have a large or a larger wrist. A 32mm watch doesn't really wear that well on my wrist. And it does not wear like a watch with a 32mm lug width either, because the lugs almost disappear on this watch because they're so thin. So it does wear even smaller than maybe the 32mm. You can see it's a very cool looking watch. But you definitely, if you bang your wrist against anything with this crystal, the chances of it cracking are high. The chances of it scratching are almost 100%. If you hit something that can scratch it, it will scratch. That's kind of one of the downfalls of these crystals on these watches, but a very cool looking watch, I have to say. Now, as I mentioned, this watch, I have to actually pop open the diver's extension to throw it on. And then to close it, it's very easy. I'm not going to close it though, just going to show it to you very quickly on my 7.5-inch wrist. It's large, 45.5 millimeters. It wears every millimeter of that 45.5. Probably wears more like a 46 or a 47 millimeter because of that 16.5, 17 millimeter thickness. It is a thick watch. You do get a dome sapphire crystal included in that thickness, but still, considering that is very, very thick. And you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, it looks big, it wears big, it's a statement watch. It's a tool watch. It's definitely a watch that can be used professionally. It's something that will take a beating. It's built like a tank. It's probably one of the best built watches in my collection, up there with my JLC Navy SEALs watch. Maybe feels a little bit more robust on your wrist. I mean, this feels like you could just bang it into a car and the car would move. It feels like a tank on your wrist. Kind of quirky as well. You get scratches on a bezel that shouldn't scratch, and then the actual buckle's not that great, but that's what they went with, and that's what it is. So here is the last watch, or the first watch that I showed you. It is the Mark II. Now, this bracelet, again, I have large hands. Because the bracelet actually has a very small buckle on it, it's very hard for me to get these on and off. However, I do get it on, and you can see it does fit really nice on my 7.5-inch wrist. 41.5 millimeters, really a 42 millimeter watch. It's on the thicker side because of that mineral crystal back that I put on there, so you could see that caliber 861, which I think is definitely worth it. I would have never done that if it wasn't for the over polishing that Omega did, even though I asked them not to polish it. The AD made them polish it anyway, which I probably should have got more mad about, but I didn't. When I saw the watch, it looked immense. It looked perfect, and it does look perfect except for that case back. Just a beautiful watch. I highly recommend, if you are an Omega Speedmaster fan, check out the Mark II. These are really special watches. They look really good on your wrist. They're not a small vintage watch either, so if you're scared of that, these wear awesome. And they remade these, so they're actually pretty expensive. I think they were charging like $4,500 or $5,000 for them, and you can get these for well under $3,000, depending on the condition. Anyway, very quick lume shot, and then we will wrap up the video. So there you have it. The lume, never really good on Omega. The Seamaster is not bad, but when you compare it to other watches that are actually less expensive, you get so much better lume from other brands, which is kind of a shame. They should do a little bit better. The hands are decently applied with lume, and the indices are decently applied, but nothing that's going to blow you away. Obviously, the Speedmaster has very little lume. Those hands were replaced, so that's new lume on there. The dial has almost no actual glow to it whatsoever. It is a vintage watch, so that is pretty much expected. The Speedmaster, I paid around $3,000 for this watch. I think I paid $2,800. for this when I bought it about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, somewhere around there. I think they're going for more money now than they did back then. I think you could probably sell this for around $3,500. I have box and papers and all that. I'm still on the fence. I may end up selling it. I do this every single time I show this watch on camera. I explain that I might sell it. I don't wear it often enough, and that's kind of a problem. And I think I might wear that 300 more often. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I do love this watch. I think it's an awesome watch. I think it's really well made. I'd love to own both the 300 and this watch in my collection. However, I don't know if that actually makes sense. But tell me what you guys think of this 3-watch collection in the comments below. I'll be doing a Vacheron 3-watch collection, a Panerai 3-watch collection in the near future. I just think that Omega makes some amazing watches. They make really good quality watches. There's so many watches out there in the Omega catalog, the vintage catalog to choose from. And they remake a lot of them like this Mark II. You could go out and buy a brand new one, or you can buy a vintage one and do what I did for around $1,400 or whatever the hell I paid for it, all in with the service. I got a pretty killer watch with that case back. It looks pretty awesome, and I think it's nicer than the actual reissue of this watch, in my opinion. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. There's no lume on the dress watch on the Ville, so obviously not showing that watch. But that's really it. That's my 3-watch collection, so I'll be doing some others. Like I said, tell me what you guys think in the comments below of Omega, of the 3 watches that I have in my collection, my 3-watch collection. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I also have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click on those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next